Hello everyone, it is Tsuki. I don't have a script for this video, so we're going to be winging it a little bit today, but I wanted to make a short little video, hopefully, just to kind of help remind people that I still exist, so that when patch 5.2 comes out, everyone's just kind of in the know that I still am here in this plane of existence, making content for this game, and other games as well. So, yeah, in this video, we're going to be looking at what is honestly one of my most favorite and consistent ways of making some gil. It's not going to make you a ton of gil, but it is a consistent method that you can use just about every day. You are going to need to have your Culinarian or your Alchemist leveled fairly high, about 78-ish at least, in order to actually get use out of this. If you have them at 80 and can have access to some of the level 80 gear, that'll help as well. Although you don't need super high gear, like you don't need to be like super melted to do this. We're going to be crafting some level 77 and like 78 or 79 recipes. It's not that difficult. If you have a little bit of gear, it's definitely going to help, but you don't need a whole lot. It's pretty easy to do. Most people who actually get to level 80 will probably be able to handle this pretty well. It's also going to help immensely if you have your botany and miners leveled as well, so you can get these materials for yourself for free and just gather it yourself. But if you don't, then you know, you might have to spend a little bit on the market board to have someone else, you know, gather those for you. But I'll be showing you exactly what you need to get, and we're gonna be basically using our leaves to make gil. Now, some of you might be thinking to yourself, Tsuki, I already know this. I already use leaves to make money. You don't need to tell me this. That's fine. But I imagine there's a ton of people who are just sitting on, you know, 100 allowances and aren't using their leaves, and I'm telling you that that is a very easy method of just making some quick gil if you need it, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time or effort. So let's get into it. Now, the two things we're going to be making are actually going to be commanding Craftsman Syrup on Alchemist, and we're going to also be making coffee biscuits. Now, you can use both of these if you want, or you can do one or the other depending on what you have leveled and what you prefer. And I'll kind of go over the kind of pros and cons of each. When it comes to coffee biscuits, the materials are a lot easier to obtain, I'd say. You can pretty much gather everything that you need in order to make this on your botanist. So yeah, it's pretty easy to make this, and it's actually not that difficult to level Culinarian in my opinion either. When it comes to alchemy and making the commanding Craftsman Syrup, however, it's a bit more difficult to get these materials. Now, if you are, you know, doing the script grind and getting some yellow scripts, you probably already have been making a lot of cunning Craftsman Syrup. And thankfully, a lot of what goes into commanding Craftsman Syrup is basically the same. The only difference is the Hydrozion umbrellas. Wow, that's quite the name. But yeah, the problem with this recipe in particular compared to the botany one is that Hydrozion umbrellas are monster drops, and those can be a little bit annoying to get if you're just trying to go around and kill stuff to actually get the drops. It's really annoying. There are a couple of ways to get this as well. If you have battle retainers, which is basically how I've managed to accumulate all of these, that's the easiest way to get it. You can get 10 every hour. If you have your retainers at level 80 and, you know, geared somewhat, then it's pretty easy to get, you know, some of these, you know, just every hour, just send your retainers out to go get them. If you actually have to go out and kill those things, it's really not that fun. If you also have to buy it, since you have to buy these on the market board, they're usually quite expensive, just about on all servers that are on the Aether data center at least. You can also get these from spending the fate crystals. I totally forget what they're called, but the currency that you get from fates, you can go ahead and buy these from vendors that deal with those things. I totally forget what are those called. Do I still have these? Yeah. What are gemstones? You can buy these with gemstones, and I believe you pick them up in the Tempest. And if you already have all 6 complete, you can probably you can pick them up here in the Crystarium vendor. So yeah, I'll be showing that off later as well. But the rest of these are, you know, you can gather these lime basil, botany over in Lakeland, kudzu root. This is over in the fringes, I believe. Fringes, right? Yes, the fringes over by Cash from Orions, and then underground spring water is also in Lakeland And I don't know, I guess like we can just we can cut away, magic of editing, show you where all this stuff is. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so we're in Tomra now. This is here over in Clusia. Pretty simple. Just around here is actually where you can pick up coffee beans. Should be in these nodes over down yonder. Coffee beans are kind of high leveled, I believe, so you won't be able to get you know, super high gathering rates with like pick clean and stuff. Pick clean is amazing, by the way, but definitely, you know, pick clean, blessed harvest, bountiful harvest, or what you want to be using to get more of these. I don't actually need any more of these since I have a ton already, but yeah, easy to gather. They're not too hard to obtain. And the good thing about the coffee beans as well is that you can just gather the coffee beans directly. When it comes to the other parts of the coffee biscuit, the wheat flour and the beet sugar in particular, you do have to kind of craft those from raw materials that we'll be gathering here in a little bit. Alright, so we're still here in Clusia. This is about where we are here, just under the right teleport right there. So, you know, not too far away from where we were gathering the coffee beans. But this is where you're going to be picking up upland wheat. And you're going to be using upland wheat to make the upland wheat flour. And you're going to need 5 upland wheat, and that'll actually make 3 flour, or 3 bags of flour. So yeah, multiples of 5 is what you're going to be wanting to get here. Pick clean works really well here if you have decent gear. If you don't, then you know, what is this? Blessed harvest is pretty safe use as well, although it does use double the GP. Alright, and we're in Ilmeg now. We're going to be obtaining the last sort of ingredient that you need for these coffee biscuits. And over here is where you can find, in this general area is where you can find a beet or sugar beets. Garden beets. Garden beets is what you're looking for. And just like with the upland wheat, you need 5 garden beets in order to make 3 garden beet sugar. So yeah, multiples of 5 once again here. Alright, and we're here in Lakeland. We're going to be obtaining the materials to make the Commanding Craftsman Syrup. It's the Commanding, right? I always get those two mixed up because they're very, yeah. The Commanding Craftsman Syrup, the red one, that's the one you want to make. So yeah, we're here in Lakeland. This is also where you obtain pretty much the similar materials to get the Cunning Craftsman Syrup as well, right? Yeah. So over here in Lakeland, you can go ahead and you can pick up lime basil is what you need for the ones we're looking for. Although if you're looking to get yellow scripts when they come into rotation for Cunning Craftsman Syrup, we're going to be using a lot of the same materials. Light gerbera is what you'll need there. But right here, we're going to be picking up a lime basil. I'm actually not going to pick up any right now because I don't need any. But this is where you can pick them up over here in this general area. Alright, so we're still here over in Lakeland. We're just above the Fort Job teleport point, and this is where you can pick up underground spring water from these nodes over here. And you're going to be needing some of that as well. And as mentioned before, we're here in the fringes, and this is where you'll be able to pick up kudzu roots, which you'll be needing quite a bit of as well. And here's the general area. It's kind of south of Castrum Orients, as we mentioned before, and this is just here where you can pick those up if you need them. Alright, and we're here in the Tempest, and it's actually this gemstone trader that you can actually pick up Hydrosian umbrellas. They are 2 gemstones for just 1, so you know, even doing just 1 fate doesn't get you a whole lot of these, but it is a kind of semi-consistent way of getting them, although I wouldn't really recommend you grinding out just fates just to get these if you know you don't already have some on hand. But if you already have gemstones that you're not using, it's not a bad idea to pick up some of these with them. The best way I'd recommend you pick up these is if you have battle retainers, like I mentioned. If you have them high enough leveled, which hopefully by now you do, you can send them out, get about 10 every hour depending on how many battle retainers you actually have. And that's a great way to get these. Otherwise, you're going to have to rely on the market board, or heavens forbid, actually go out and try to kill these things yourself and just hope that they drop, which does not sound like fun. But yeah, you can pick them up here. Also, once again, if you're already all rank, max rank with with all the zones. You should be able to pick them up in the Crystarium gemstone trader, which is in the marketplace area, or even in the Yomoran one as well. So just keep an eye out for that if you want to use gemstones to get these Hydrosian umbrellas. Alright, so we have all the ingredients now. I've shown you where you can pick them all up, so let's just kind of get into it. So for coffee biscuits, like I mentioned, we do have to make the garden beet sugar and the upland wheat flour. These are fairly low level. Garden beet sugar is level 72. You're going to need 6 fire crystals. 5 makes 3 sugars right there. Again, it's not that difficult to make. Upland wheat flour as well. Level 74, you're going to need 7 fire crystals, 5 upland wheat flour, or 5 upland wheat makes 3 flour, so once again, not too difficult there. Now the coffee biscuits in question are level 79. It's not that difficult to make. Again, I'm not actually sure, like I was able to make these with pretty mid-level gear while I was leveling in order to turn these in for Leaf quests as well. So you can definitely make it if you're not level 80. If you are level 80, obviously, the more gear you have, the easier it will be to make this, and the faster and less steps you'll have to put in order to make these as well. But you're going to actually need to craft 3 of these. You actually get 3 per craft, but you actually need 9 of them, or you're going to want 9 of them at least, in order to do a triple turn in. And that's what makes these leaves in particular so good, is that you can triple turn them in and you get lots of gil every single time. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to craft it. Now I do have some macros that I do use to craft these, but the thing is I can put these macros into in the video, but this is just something that I use in particular. I'm not sure what the minimum requirements are to actually get this to work properly without failing. I might have to plug in some numbers somewhere to see how that works. A much safer macro that should work as well is this one. This one works all right. And again, I'll kind of blow these up, put them on screen if you need them. But this one works just fine, although I have pretty high level crafter gear, so, and it's all melded and stuff, so that's kind of not indicative of what you might have. But crafting these, depending on how much gear you have, shouldn't be too difficult with just some simple macros. I know they are adding new expert recipes that you're going to need to manually craft, which sounds kind of exciting. But when it comes to making some of these old leveling stuff that's not even level 80, it shouldn't be too difficult, especially as the patches go on. And that's another thing too, is that this method should work depending on for the rest of the expansion, basically, before they decide to nerf rewards from Leves. I imagine this should work basically until whenever we get 6.0, and yeah, that'll be good. Nice consistent way for you to make some gil. So coffee biscuits, not too difficult to make. And when it comes to commanding Craftsman Syrup, it's even easier to make because that's only a level 77 recipe, I believe. I don't know why I made 2 of these. I only needed to make 1. Because I already have some already pre-made for this video. Because I come prepared, except not with scripts. And commanding Craftsman Syrup, once again, you're going to need 2 Hydrosian umbrellas. That's basically the biggest hurdle there. But everything else should be pretty easy to obtain. And again, we're using the same macro. Alright, so now that you have everything kind of crafted and made, it's time to actually turn them in. So like I said, we're going to be doing triple turn-ins, and since you kind of make 3, you need 3 sets, and you make 3 per craft, you're going to need 54 of any of the other items, or any combination of those 2 items in particular, in order to turn in 6 different leaves. And you'll be getting 6 leaves every day. That comes out to at least around 100,000. It really kind of depends on your RNG when it comes to rewards, but you should be making over 100,000 most of the time in terms of gil. So let's go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and look at the coffee biscuits first. So the leave you want to look for is a cookie for your troubles here. Turn in coffee biscuits. As you can see here, we're getting about 6,000 gil once we turn this in, and 42 water crystals. When it comes to the rewards for turning in coffee biscuits, I found that the The gil amounts can vary from about 5,500 gil to about 6,400 gil if you're turning in HQ, which hopefully you are. Otherwise, this isn't nearly as effective. And when it comes to the kind of secondary rewards, you know, whatever shows up in this little box here, you can get water or fire crystals, which is good because you use water and fire crystals to make them. So that's also very helpful. You don't have to go out and hopefully don't have to go out and farm too many crystals to make these. You can also get coffee biscuits, or not coffee biscuits, but coffee beans to make more coffee biscuits, which is also pretty nice to get. You can also get bomba rice, which is completely useless. There's really not very many good recipes that use the rice in particular, so I find that to be just, you know, vendor trash. Very unfortunate if you get that, although I do find that when you do get bomba rice as a kind of secondary reward, you do tend to get the higher values of gil when that does pop up. So it looks like you're just getting lots of water crystals, which is totally fine with me because you use a lot of water crystals for alchemy crafting as well. And obviously we're going to be doing alchemy crafting for the other sets of leaves that we're doing. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it wants to give me anything other than water crystals, which I'm totally fine with. I actually prefer to get the crystals because it means I don't have to go out and farm them. Although I have tens of thousands of crystals already, so, you know, whatever. Alright, I'm gonna try one more time, see if we can get something that isn't water crystals. Nope, got water crystals again. Whatever. So let's go ahead. We're gonna switch over to alchemy, and when it comes to alchemy, turning in the Craftsman Syrup, the actual one we want to look for is crafty concoctions. Now, when it comes to crafty concoctions, you get considerably more gil, I find, per turn in. When it comes to rewards, similar to the coffee biscuits, you get water and lightning crystals because those are what you use for alchemy crafting. You can get these hop trap leaves, which are pretty useful for crafting other stuff. Growth formula iotas in particular are pretty useful for yellow script farming even after you reach level 80. It's a decent amount of yellow scripts to craft that, and it's also useful in a lot of other recipes as well. But yeah, I don't think you really get there's no fourth reward, basically. I'm pretty sure as many times as I've done this, I don't think there's anything but the 2 crystals and the hop trap leaves, if I am not mistaken. But who knows, heat of the moment, I might be wrong. But as you can see, you get quite a bit of gil when you get the hop trap leaves, even though they're not directly useful for what we're doing here. As you can see, right here, we're going to be getting like 50 or 8,400 gil per turn in, and doing that 3 times, that's quite a bit of gil just for one leaf right there. We're getting 2 hop trap leaves this time, which, yeah, why not? It's still quite a bit of gil here. Now, that's what makes making the syrup a little bit better than the coffee biscuits. If you're just going straight for gil, making the syrup definitely does net you more gil. But the problem with the syrup, as I mentioned before, is that you need monster drops. You need these Hydrosian umbrellas, which are a little bit of a pain to gather. I have a lot of them because I have a lot of I have 3 different battle retainers, so getting these is no problem for me. I get, you know, 30 every hour as long as I'm just kind of checking up on my retainers as they sort of finish their ventures and stuff like that. But if you don't have that, then, you know, obtaining these is kind of a pain, which is why when it comes to it, coffee biscuits a lot easier to obtain. You just need an 80 level 80 botanist, or basically just even a botanist that can access the node that gives you coffee beans, so just a level 75 botanist even, and you can pretty much obtain all the materials that you need to craft coffee biscuits, even though they don't give you as much gil. But yeah, that is basically it for this video. And, you know, for those of you who don't know how leaves work, you get 6 every day. You get 3 every 12 hours, and you can check actually when you get more leaves by checking out this tab right here. It'll show you the exact time, your time zone, when you actually get them. I live for me on PST, so I get them 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. PST you get 3 every 12 hours, so you get 6 every day. And in order to make or in order to turn in 6 leaves, you need to craft 18 different times, which will give you 54 of a total item, which you can then turn in, and that should net you over 100,000. The only, like, if RNG really craps on you, you might get a little under 100,000 if you turn it in, but most of the time you'll get over 100,000, especially if you're doing the commanding crafting syrup turn-ins over the coffee biscuits. If you just get really bad RNG and you just get like a lot of 5500s guild turn-ins for the coffee biscuits, you might get a little under 100k. But again, the best thing about this is that it doesn't take a whole lot of time. What's really actually kind of great about why I pick Culinarian and Alchemy in particular is that when it comes to these, you can just stack them. You can just stack these, so you can have, you know, just like hundreds of these stacked up, and you can, you know, find a anytime, you know, you're bored, put on a movie, just sit down, craft, you know, make hundreds of these, just have them all ready, turn them in all at once if you want, and just kind of wait, and that's it. And then you just wait until you're about to cap up again. Because like if you were to go over to like any of these other things like blacksmith and stuff, you do have triple turn-ins here, but the problem with blacksmithing and all these other things that basically aren't Culinarian or Alchemist is that they don't stack, so you can't just hoard them in your inventory. It takes up a lot of space, especially if you don't, you know, you're not paying for extra retainers or anything like that. So yeah, that's kind of another nice thing about Alchemist and Culinarian, as well as that you can just stack them up and, you know, turn them in all at once. Just one big dump, get a lot of gil all at once. It's great. So again, some of you might not think that's a whole lot of gil to, you know, put your time into. Some of you might already know this and be doing it yourself, but for everyone else who's just kind of sitting on their leave allowances, you put in the work to level up your Culinarian, your Alchemist, you have botany or your botanist and miner, and you're not really doing anything with them. This is a nice consistent way for you to make a little bit of gil every day, and it'll add up, you know, over time. You know, it's not the best way for making gil, but the best thing about this is that you don't have to fight anyone. You know, there's no going to the market board and having to constantly undercut to make sure your stuff sells. You know, because you're getting this directly from the game, it's consistent every time. 100,000 every day, it adds up. So yeah, just wanted to share this in case, you know, you are just sitting on your leaves and, you know, want to make a little bit of money. So thank you all for watching. I need to get to editing this and also maybe plugging in some numbers to figure out the exact requirements you need in order to make those or to use those macros that I am using currently. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in patch 5.2. Sayonara. Bye bye.